It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm here in my bathroom, so I will wake up Astrid. It is, that's the actual, I'm in the bathroom, and I can't sleep. And I'll tell you why. Because of two things. Because we watched a couple of episodes of Picard last night, and something just made me so infuriated that I woke up at 5 in the morning thinking about it, and I couldn't get back to sleep. And that thing is how I came to Germany and why the German state let me stay here as an immigrant. Let me tell you what happened. It just makes me, I just can't, it just really upsets me. This is it. Okay, so in Picard, we missed the second season because we watched the first season. We didn't like it. It was boring. So we let go of this. We didn't watch the second season. But now there's a third season out, and people are talking about it. So we're thinking, okay, well, we could try again the second season, and then when we're done with that, if we can get through it, we'll try the third season, right? So we tried the second season, and it turns out really good. It's really it's well written. There's a lot of shows out on Netflix and everything that are really poorly written, really stupid. But this is really quite well written. It's back to kind of traditional ideas of Star Trek and science fiction ideas and kind of weird things happening. And so it's a good traditional Star Trek TV show. And so we're watching and enjoying it. And then comes the scene in I don't know, episode 3 or 4 or something, where they come back through time to 2024. And this is where in America, in Los Angeles, in 2024, the fascism has begun. So fascism has taken over America and then taken over the world, and the Federation is now a confederation, and the world has become fascist, and so they're going back in the time to solve that problem and stop the fascism, right? And so of course it's our time in America in 2024, because that's what we're being told. We're being told that fascism is coming, and that if we vote for the conservatives, or we do anything that leftists do not tell us. And let me tell you, I have in my life only voted Democrat. I vote Democrat. But we're being told that if we don't vote Democrat, we're going to be, fascist, right? And it's going to be a fascist world. Okay, so that's okay. So it got into the TV show, and they're going to preach to us about fascism. Okay, so it comes back, and one of them is a Spanish guy, right? And he one of the Star Trek members, future travelers coming back to our time, and he doesn't have documentation, and so he gets arrested by ICE. And ICE people, they're all fascists. They keep you in cage, and they love torturing foreigners, and they call you with derogatory names, and they, poke you with cattle prods, and they are the fascists. This is the beginning of fascism, and it's really portrayed. It really takes time and effort to portray that America is evil to undocumented immigrants, of course. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm an immigrant. I'm an American living in Germany. I've been living here for like 30 years. And I live here legally. Because, and let me tell you what happened, how I did this, how I came to Germany. First of all, I had to get married. There's no German green card lottery or anything like that. You have to have you have to find a loophole in the immigration laws. And there are no immigration laws that can say, yes, you can come in this and this and this. It says you can't come unless, there's some kind of exception to the rule. You have to find an exception to the rule. And so I got married. And that wasn't the only reason. It was the love of my life. Not the only reason I got married, but I got married, and I said, okay, and I'm going to study and work in Germany. And to do that, to do all those things, to get permission to work here, to get permission to stay here, I had to, months filling out forms and jumping through hoops. I had to prove that I could speak the language good enough. I had to take a language test. I had to get the police station from Hawaii to report to them that I did not have a police record. I had to prove that it was the 80s. I had to prove that I did not have AIDS. I needed a medical examination. And then I had to prove that I could get a job that would not take another job away from Germans. So it had to be a kind of job that only a foreigner could do. So I got a language school that takes native language speakers, and I taught English like a lot of expats do. They teach English because as native speakers, they're better for that, and then language schools want native speakers. So that's legitimate. You can then I had to, then the language school then wrote a note. I have to, we need a native speakers, and so that's why we're giving this guy a job. And so I got permission to work in Germany, and I got permission to stay here after 7 years, I think it was, when I could prove after 7 years that it was not just a fake marriage, but that we were really married. I had to go back every year and get my permission to my residency permit renewed every year, so I could prove and prove that I was still married, and I wasn't just married to get a resident permit and to stay. And I didn't mind, because this is a state that has its own laws. This is a state that has, it's the law. And I would have liked it, of course, if they'd just said, oh, all Americans can come and stay and do anything they want. They can, whatever, just come over and shit on us. It's fine. You're American. That's wonderful. But they didn't say that. They said, no, you have to jump through hoops. And so I jumped through hoops, and I did it. But the thing, in America today, the reason why America is becoming a fascist country is because we have those laws, but when those laws are enforced, we think that we're being fascist. No other country is being fascist. Germans, when they do this, are just being a normal country. But Americans, this is the democratic doctrine, the democratic propaganda, and I say that as a person who votes Democrat. They say it's fascist because if someone wants to come over as an illegal alien, we can't say the word illegal alien, it's undocumented alien, it's not an illegal alien, even though they are breaking the law. These are actual laws like any other country has. If they come over and we don't let them stay here, then we're being fascist. And so that's the rise of fascism. That's not how fascism starts. I've been in Germany long enough, and I've seen enough German history that I know how fascism starts, and that's not it. And let me tell you in a moment how fascism starts. I know I'm ranting here, but first of all, there's another thing. I have a friend here who works for the unions, for the trade unions, and he goes to construction sites. And the construction sites, he looks for people who do not have the proper shoes. He looks for people who are not wearing security vests. He looks for people who are not wearing helmets, hard hats. These are the guys who are here illegally from outside of the European Union, like, for example, White Russia or Turkey. And they come over here and they work illegally, of course. They're illegal immigrants and they work illegally. And the construction work sites and other people love them because they're cheap. That's right. You don't have to pay the minimum wage. Oh, here's the cat. The cat. You don't have to pay them the minimum wage. You can pay them almost nothing, and they will work for almost nothing. And the big advantage is when they fall off that scaffolding and break their leg, you don't have to send them to the hospital. In fact, you can't, because they're here illegally. You just send them home. That's all you do. You send them home, you give them the last paycheck, 10 euros or something, and you send them home. You don't have any responsibility for them whatsoever. They have no social net whatsoever. They have no legal recourse because they have no contract whatsoever. And that's what happens when you have illegal immigrants. That's why illegal immigrants come. The people coming up from Mexico, they're not political refugees. America takes somewhere between 50 and 100,000 political refugees every year and takes them legitimately and says, oh, you have a legitimate reason to come because of political refugees. But it's not that many because there are no more real, military juntas in the world anymore. There are no more dictatorships that you have a really legitimate reason to be a political, refugee. But we still do that in certain cases. But the million or so people who cross the border illegally don't come because of political right. They come to work, just like the guys from White Russia and from Turkey come to Germany. They come to work because they can still, even though they're getting under minimum wage, they can still earn more money here working illegally and with, breaking their legs and working than they would at home. So that's what they're doing. So what you have here is a black market of labor, a black market of almost slave labor with no legal structure, no legal recourse, and way under minimum wage. And you're treated like swine. You live in a hovel with, 5 other guys in your own piss. And I've been in here in Germany to asylum homes, and it smells like piss. And this was in the 80s. It may be better now, or 90s. It was 90s. But but this is not people who are coming to America to contribute to the arts. They're here working as a black market pseudo slave labor, and that's what we're supporting. That's what the Democrats are saying. This is because we don't want to be racist, and we don't want to be humane and good people to them, so they can come here and they can work in our wine fields, in our houses, and clean our houses, in our yards, and in our construction sites for a pittance, for nothing, and then go home. And that's how generous we are to these people, and we're so nice because we miss our slaves, and so they have to come and be slaves. And let me tell you something about American immigration. America has the most generous immigration laws in the world. There was a law passed, I think it was 1965, regulating immigration. And it says about 1 million people, a little over 1 million people each year can legally immigrate to America for whatever reason. They have there's a green card lottery. You can get in by marriage. You can get in because your family's there, et cetera, et cetera. You have to apply for it, just like I applied in Germany. You have to be granted the right to stay. And about 1 million people each year are let into America just because they want to come to America. They're not political refugees. They just want to come to America, and they apply for it, and they're either rejected or they're accepted. About 1 million a year. That's much more than any other country in the world. In Germany, there is no such law. You have to find a loophole. You have to get married or something, or be a political assailant. You can't. There is no law that just says, yeah, you can come, but they're just limited to 1 million a year, which is quite a lot. Just not everyone. We have certain laws, and you have to fill out a form. America has let me just repeat this, the most generous immigration laws in the world. We are the most open country in the world to outsiders. We only believe that we're fascists because mainly the Democrats and the Republicans do the same thing in the opposite way. They're using it to manipulate you, to get you out and vote for them. That's all. This is not how fascism starts. How fascism starts is this, and it's been in Germany. You start talking about identity. That's what Hitler did. He divided the world into Germanness and into otherness, the Jewness and the Americanness. He talked about Americans too, he hated Americans too, Frenchness, and these are all bad people. If you're French, you are detrimental to Germanness. If you are Jewish, you are part of this block of Jewishness that is detrimental and subversive to Germanness. And if you are German, then you are basically good. You belong to the good block of identity, and this is your sliver of identity. It's your tribe. And fascism comes from tribalism. And identity is a form of tribalism. And what happened is that Hitler said, the great Germanness has to be protected from the evil Jewness and from the evil this and thatness and all these other things that are trying to disturb the Germanness. And that's what we're doing in America today. The whiteness, of course, is not the good thing. That has to be, according to woke culture, the whiteness is good and blackness is bad or Jewishness is bad. It's the opposite, but it's the same idea. It's identity. That was my alarm clock. I'm supposed to wake up. So it's not your individual. You're not a human being striving to, figure out the world and do something good for the world, and with your opinions and your experiences and your dreams and hopes and the work and your skills that you can do. You're none of that. You are a slice of a big chunk of cheese that they call identity. You're a slice of blackness. You're a slice of whiteness. You're a slice of Jewishness. Yourself, who you are, disappears into this chunk of identity, and you are nothing beyond that, nothing more than that. And if the blackness is, victimized, then all blacks are victimized. And being black is part of being a victim. And if whites are oppressors and evil, then all being white is evil in itself. And it's dividing the world. Fascism divides the world into tribes based on some kind of identity that has nothing to do with who you really are. It's a fake, imagined, invented identity, this whiteness, because of the color of your skin. It actually means nothing. But in fascism, it means everything. And that's where fascism comes from. It doesn't come from some guy enforcing the laws so that there is some kind of law, and order in the state. It's not some guy, taking you off the construction site and saying, buddy, in your tennis shoes and your t-shirt working, 10 stories above, on a scaffolding 10 stories up, saying, buddy, you're not supposed to be doing that. That's not fascism. Fascism comes from dividing people into identities and then telling the identities that one identity is better or worse than the other. That is where fascism comes from.